What is good? What is good, y'all? We got something special for y'all today. I got something special for y'all. We're gonna do another exclusive album review. Let's get some people in here. Let's get some people tapping in here, and we will get to the review. So let me get my shit together. I'm gonna roll up. I'm gonna roll up real quick. Got some Dutches on deck. I'm going to roll up and we're going to get started. I'm going to be joined by my guest host in just a moment. Let's see what's going on. Let's get some people in here. Trying to do our second album review. The first album that we reviewed was a few days ago, 4 or 5 days ago. We reviewed the Re-Up album, which was a collaboration project we did a collaboration project review from Eminem and 50 Cent. Let's get some people in here. I'm just going to roll up for a second. Rolling up, you guys, waiting for some people to pour into the chat. I'm going to bring my guest host in and we can get to this album review. 4 o'clock. What's going on with this thing? What's up, y'all? Mikey T, the movie star here. We're about to get to this exclusive review for the G Unit soundtrack. That's right. We're going to do a review today of the G Unit soundtrack, which featured a ton of artists. What up, man? What up, guys? 50 Cent working on a new album? Okay. Let's get some people in here. I'm going to bring in my co-host. We got Ryan B. He's going to come in and join me. But yeah, I'm just twisting up right now, guys. Excuse me. Picked up some sour. This shit is hitting right, you guys. But today, we're going to do this real. We're going to do this shit real today. We're going to go over the whole album, the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Share this video. Let's get some more people in here right now, you guys. We're going to go over the track listing, track by track, Hustler's Ambition, Window Shopper, Have a Party with Mobb Deep, all the different collaborations. So I'm definitely hype on doing this today. Just waiting on my co-host to come in and join me so we can start going in about this. Got some Sour Pack on deck. You dig? Yep, that's right. Dope project. It is a dope project. We're going to give our official grade. I gave the Re-Up with Eminem and 50 Cent a B-. Ryan B actually gave it a B+. Bear with me, you guys. Let me welcome my co-host coming in today, my guy Ryan B. Heezy, R.B.H.
What up?
What's popping, Ryan? How you doing today?
Yo, everything's good, man. Another day, woke up, blessed.
Yep, everyone's shocked that you woke up after what you was doing last night. You was drinking heavy on the show last night, bro.
Yep. Friday night turn up.
So we're going to talk about the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack today. The Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack actually dropped November 8th, 2005. Now this November time slot, Ryan, it's something that G Unit had done before with Beg for Mercy. So before we just get into it, would you consider this a follow-up to the G Unit album at all, or no?
You could say that. It's definitely a posse cut. It's like the G Unit Plus. You know what I mean? It's like you not only do you have your core cats that you normally roll with G Unit with the normal crew, but then you have the expansion of the people. Like you got Mase, you got M.O.P, you got Mobb Deep, you got Olivia. You know what I mean? You got a lot more elements. Spider Lope, that's another one.
Yep.
Did a really good job on this album.
So yeah, you said he got Mase. 50 was trying to secure Mase in a similar deal like he did with Mobb Deep and M.O.P, but he didn't end up getting Mase for the full album, but he did get it signed off for this album for a verse.
Yeah.
And
Murder Mase.
We will get into that track. For the people who are in the chat right now, do you guys know which track Mase was featured on the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack? But let's get into a little bit of background about this album before we jump into it, Ryan. Get Rich or Die Trying, music from and inspired by the motion picture. The soundtrack is the 2000 is is the soundtrack to the 2005 film of the same name, released on November 8, 2005 on G Unit Records and Interscope. It features artists on the G Unit label such as 50, Lloyd Banks, Young Buck, Tony Yayo, Olivia, Mobb Deep. The album sold Ryan, would you like to take a guess at how many units the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack sold first week?
I don't even know, man. I know it had to have been a lot, though. It had to have been a lot because the movie came in number 2. I remember it came second to Stuart Little. Stuart Little beat it out, but other than that, it would have been a number 1 movie. I'm gonna say it had to have gone platinum. We're talking first week, had to have gone platinum.
No, not first week. First week, the album actually sold 320,000 copies, and it debuted copies in the first week, debuting behind country singer Kenny Chesney's The Road and the Radio. And that's interesting, Ryan, because wasn't Kenny Chesney actually involved in the whole Kanye West 50 Cent thing?
I believe he was, yeah. I believe he was involved in that.
He came in third that time, though. So, So in December 2005, the RIAA certified the album platinum. So the album went platinum within a month, Ryan. And to date, the album has sold 3 million copies.
Sheesh. Nice paycheck.
Yep, definitely nice. The last project we talked about was actually the Re-Up, which was released a year later, and it sold just under this. It sold a little bit under this, about 20,000 copies. It sold about 300,000+.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
It sold 3 million worldwide. Ryan, after listening to this album back again today, would you say Boston says that album is underrated? Is this an underrated compilation album?
I think it got its just due. I mean, the singles are really big. You know what I mean? Like, but it's a great album. Great album, to say the least, man. Like, especially after listening to it today, I was like, wow. Like, because remember, like before, like when we rate albums, like we usually like we mentioned like what tracks we would skip. This one didn't have a lot of skips. You know what I mean? Not at all. And I consider that a classic album.
We're gonna have to get into that in a little bit, Ryan. So the first track on this album, we're going to go over the tracks. We're going to go over the producers, you guys. We're going to give our take on the tracks that we think we should skip, the tracks that you can't skip. Ryan, the first track was Hustler's Ambition. Hustler's Ambition, it came to me, it came a bit of a shocker because right, we got Hustler's Ambition after we got Candy Shop.
Yeah, he came back.
Both of these albums were released in the same year.
Wow. This dropped the same year as Massacre.
Right. We got Candy Shop in March, and then we got Hustler's Ambition in October.
That's a big switch. It's a big switch. But Hustler's Ambition, it definitely matched the tone of the movie. You know what I mean? Like that Good trailer music, good background music, and an anthem. Hustler's Ambition is an anthem.
What do you think hook wise about that? I hope to find hope to find the things in my life, so I
So I
hustle.
hustle. You get in my way when I'm trying to get mine, and I'll buck you. Yeah.
I don't care where you from. Fuck you. You know, like
You
50. So 50 was still hot with the hooks at this point, Ryan.
absolutely. Yeah, 50 that yeah. That was definitely 50 in the pocket.
So let's see. So let's see. Here's what they say about Hustler's Ambition. Hustler's Ambition was released as the album's lead single in August. So I was wrong. It was an August thing, Ryan. August 9th, 2005. The single is Jackson's personal favorite. The single peaked at number 65 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song is about Jackson's rough time growing up and how he had to hustle to keep up with life. As we all know, 50 was hustling at the age of 12. Literally, it was depicted in the movie, him running back and forth to cars. So yeah, Ryan's right. This track was actually really good in spirit of the film, but also it was a way that we hadn't really heard 50 in the mainstream before. Because remember, we heard In the Club. What did we got? In the Club, we got PIMP, and we got you know what I mean, and we got 21 Questions. Now we're getting Hustler's Ambition. We're almost getting like street hardcore 50 here.
Well, it wasn't a direct single, but Many Men. He had a video for it. That would probably be the only song prior that he actually released, through a label, like actually with a big engine behind him. So I would think Many Men, then Hustler's Ambition, like they're kind of like on like the same level, you know what I mean? The same tone.
All right, all right. I would have to say, what do you guys think in the chat? Many Men or Hustler's Ambition? Me personally, it's no question. I'd have to say, Many Men. I'd have to say Many Men, Ryan, but that's just me personally. But I think Hustler Ambition might have appealed to more people. I think it might have been more commercially appealing though than Many Men.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, because not everybody wishes death upon, not everybody feel like death is wished upon them, but a lot of people feel like they hustlers. You know what I mean? A lot of people like getting money. A lot of people like moving forward. So I can see more people getting behind that.
Hell, you could use Hustler's Ambition in an Axe deodorant commercial, Ryan.
Nah, for real.
Okay.
For real.
Triboro says many men, many men. Level Up says many men, but Hustler's Ambition is a classic. So before we move on from Hustler's Ambition and move on to the second track, What If? Ryan, is Hustler Ambition, is that a classic?
In my opinion, yeah. I would definitely say yeah, man. Definitely. Smokers don't like seeds in their weed. Give me that, and then I'll sell it. I'll grow them.
I'll grow.
Yeah, like come on, bro. Come
Okay.
on, man.
So let's move into this next track, Ryan. It's called What If? And What If? I was kind of like the beat's dope. The concept is dope. He's taking shots at everybody. What if I was like Blockbuster acting like Will Smith? What if I wasn't broke like 50 Cent? You know what I mean? Whatever he's saying. What if I could shine all day like Puffy? What if I smoke weed all day like Snoop do? I'd see the world through my dilated pupil.
Pupils.
Now, what was the tone of this? Was he taking it back to like Marcus making his first song, calling out all the industry guys? Was he taking it back to circa How to Rob 50?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like a lot of ways that 50 could shine is by comparing himself to other people, and especially when you name drop. You know what I mean? Like that, even like when that beat first comes on, the passion, like just the drums, like it just makes you it's a head knocker. You know what I mean? And like I watched the sun come up and go down saying, what if, who doesn't? You know what I mean? Another good 50 Cent song. Definitely the hook was on fire with that one. And the production was crazy, man.
Yep,
Crazy.
producer by the name of Nick Speed. Let me click on Nick Speed's wiki here. Nick Speed is an American rapper, record producer, and disc jockey from Detroit. He has produced tracks for 50, Mo Preem Shakur, Lloyd Banks, M.O.P, Talib Kweli. He's got Bishop Lamont, Danny Brown, who's actually from Michigan as well. So yeah, I think What If is definitely a dope track, but the momentum from the momentum from Hustler's Ambition really couldn't be topped. You know what I
No,
mean? It really couldn't
no,
be
definitely not. But a good follow up.
right. But right now we're getting into some album cuts. The next track we're going to talk about is Things Change, which is a Spider Loc vehicle. It's Spider Loc on two verses for Spider Loc, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Lloyd Banks and 50 Cent, produced by Sha Money L, XL, and Black Jeruz. So Ryan, let's give your take on Things Change.
That hook, that's another one. 50 in the pocket, another amazing beat. And Spider Loc, that first verse, you know what I mean? That was some real G. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's all about putting a lifetime in between the paper's lines. You know what I mean? The quote Prodigy. You know what I mean? Like he really captured what it was like growing up, struggling, you know what I'm saying, dealing with problems in the street. You know what I mean? Like, and you close your eyes and listen to that, you can actually picture it like a movie.
Right. And this was actually Spider Loc's second opportunity getting seen with G Unit. You remember he was on a record called It Is What It Is on Tony Yayo's album, I believe. Well,
Okay.
it is what it is, if I'm not mistaken. But he was featured, just like the G Unit way. They feature their artists, you know what I mean? They like how Yayo was featured on Banks's project. Yayo featured Spider Loc. Spider Loc is now featured here. He's doing the hook on this one. He's doing a great job on the hook as well. And he's also killing two different verses.
Yeah, definitely.
When you heard this, though, what were you thinking about Spider Loc's ability with G Unit? What were you thinking about the newest edition of G Unit from the West Coast?
Well, keep in mind, like this is all during the whole game situation. So it was like, okay, well, we lost the blood from Los Angeles, so now we're gonna work with a Crip from Los Angeles. So those are some big shoes to fill. You know what I mean? Because this is 50 Cent saying that this guy's gonna be bigger than the game. You know what I mean? Game is soft, game is this, game is that. So this is gonna be the new dude with the juice. So for me, I heard that before I heard It Is What It Is. Like that, I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, they got a real MC, somebody that's really spitting, that could really back up what 50's saying, that could back up those claims. And that could have been Spider Loc's first single. You know what I mean? That was a strong song. Strong.
Yep, that's obviously why it got picked up for the soundtrack. You know
Definitely.
what I mean? Plus it fit the tone of the movie perfectly. I could just imagine, you know what I mean? It fit the tone of the movie perfectly with how 50 Cent's character's life changed, based on the death of his mother and having to jump into the streets just to correlate it to the film.
Right.
Appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. It's Mikey T, the movie star. I'm joined by my co-host today, R.B.H. We're actually doing a review of the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack album. One person in here, my guy Level Up, said what we were speaking on earlier, that 50 said the Get Rich soundtrack was pretty much, well, it was basically the second G Unit album, and that would technically make sense if you look at the albums, how they dropped. Beg for Mercy, 2003. The G Unit soundtrack, 2005. The G Unit follow-up album, 2008. You know what I mean? So technically, but like Ryan said, it was like sort of bolstering the other cast members in G Unit as well. So the next track we're getting into is a Lloyd Banks record. It was a Lloyd Banks powered hook. And on the Beg for Mercy album, you would notice that 50 was actually giving Banks an opportunity to shine and do some hooks.
Yeah.
So this is called You Already Know, Lloyd Banks, 50 Cent, and Young Buck. The hook was like, you already know, my mind is dough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Billionaire wanting to spend $1 on a hoe.
Right. So I can't say that 50 didn't give Banks the proper time to shine, because out of anybody else in G Unit, Banks was the one doing a hook aside from 50.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. Second man up.
What'd you think about this record here, though, man? You already know. What was this? Was this a track that they had from the Beg for Mercy album? Or was it just something they had recorded in between?
It could have been one of both. It could have even been something that Lloyd Banks was working on for his album. You know what I mean? But then they snatched it up for this. It's a great posse cut. The chemistry between Banks, Banks, Buck, and 50 really shines on this record, like a lot. You know what I mean? Again, the production is as soon as the song comes on, you just got to turn it up. You know what I mean? It hits you in your chest. It makes you move. You know what I mean? And Banks did a phenomenal job just rocking with it. You know what I mean? Just flowing with it with that pimp swagger that Banks is known for. I mean, it was dope.
It was actually produced by the Outfit. Yep, Lloyd Banks was at the helm on that record. Lloyd Banks didn't let down on this joint. You know, it was a group effort. Banks has a solo record called Get Low that we're going to speak on in just a few minutes. Get Low, from what I had heard, was supposed to be Banks is actually his second single, but we'll talk about that when we get there, because up next, we've actually got to talk about the M.O.P. M.O.P. getting their opportunity with G Unit here on the record called When Death Becomes You.
Yep. This is another good example of how 50 felt like M.O.P. and Mobb Deep weren't really connecting with the mainstream audience. So he figured by him doing the hooks for him over a dope beat, kind of structuring the record, trying to get them like, on the same path that 50 would be on. This is a good example of that. You know what I'm saying? 50 on the hook, M.O.P. spitting, coming through with the verses.
Man, I got to tell you, going back and listening to this one today, this is like one of those records that you just can never forget. Maybe it was the fact that M.O.P. only had 3 or 4 released records with 50 that we had actually heard. Another one was called Wartime, I want to say. But this Death Becomes You, I would have to say it was really probably my favorite M.O.P. record, even with their records, Cold as Ice, Annie Up. Like, I was really digging M.O.P.'s association with G Unit here, man. I was really digging it, man. Why do you think that 50 couldn't get their album together? I mean, M.O.P. has been on the record as to say they did a lot of touring with G Unit, and that got them out of the red. Working with them really did help them. But why did we never get that album, man, based on this record, When Death Becomes You?
I still don't even know, man. I wish they did. It's kind of like the same thing what happened when they were signed to Rockefeller. You know what I mean? We got a couple songs, we got a couple shows, but no album. You know what I mean? A couple singles, but no real project. It's a shame.
Definitely is. Appreciate you for tuning in, Anna. Thank you for tuning in. H Money says Mase is the real king of Harlem. Mikey T. H Money says Mikey T. Cameron wanted no smoke with Mase when 50 signed him to G Unit. Ryan, do you think that Mase would have got some attacks from Cameron had he really got the deal with 50 going? Do you think Cameron would have poked his head out and been like, yeah, but you ain't real?
Probably. I'm just saying, the two of them been going back and forth for years. And then not too long ago, we got the whole diss record from them too. You know what I mean? We'll probably get another one in another 6 years.
Rashad says, remember when 50 said Mase ain't worth $2 million with $2 million in his pocket? That is like the most famous Mase quote now.
Yes.
Damon Dash said they don't look like going to the studio, like it's hard to get them in there. 50 said it too. Dame Dash said that they don't like going to the studio. It's hard to get them in there. 50 said it too. Ryan, do you believe that it was hard to get Billy Danze and Little Fame to the studio? Like, really?
I don't know, man. I would hope not. Those some real MCs, man. Like I don't know. I never heard nothing about their work ethic before. That makes sense though. I mean, yeah, 50 probably had the same problem. Because it's crazy. Like M.O.P. and Mobb Deep both had the same situation. How come we got a slew of Mobb Deep songs and only a couple or a few M.O.P. songs? So, I mean, that could add up. Could have been the same situation with 50.
So here we are. We're 5 songs into the Get Rich or Dying soundtrack. We are in Hustler's Ambition, 50, What If, 50, Things Change, Spiderloaf, 50, and Banks. You already know Banks, 50, and Buck. When Death Becomes You, 50 and M.O.P. So 50 is featured on every track here. And Ryan, you said it at the beginning. This is an album where you don't have many to skip.
Not many. Not many at all. I mean, I'll tell you which ones, but we'll get there. We haven't gotten any yet. Right. When I put this album on, I'm playing it all the way through to where we at right now.
So we get to the next record, record 6, which I think actually should have not been on this album unless it was placed in one of the scenes in the Get Rich or Die Trying movie where they're actually at a party. It's called Have a Party. Mobb Deep featuring 50 Cent and Nate Dogg. Man, I was cruising to this song, heading to, you know what I mean, heading down to Connecticut, heading into Connecticut today, and people thought I was crazy when I was listening to the song. I was having such a good time.
Yeah, that song is amazing. That song is incredible, man. That song is a whole vibe. A whole vibe.
So why not save that for Mobb Deep's solo album, Ryan?
I kind of felt the same way, but I guess it was 50's way of killing two birds with one stone. You know what I mean? So this way they can get an extra video, an extra single out there on a different dollar versus just the budget that they have for their album. That's what I'm guessing. Because this should have been a Mobb Deep. This should have been the first record that they dropped. You're right. I agree with that.
Yeah, this should have been the first record that Mobb Deep dropped, especially with Nate Dogg on it, man. Nate was sounding better than ever on that, man. You know, that was the best record that 50 produced with Nate Dogg since 21 Questions on the Real. But I think out of all the records on the album, I think maybe that's one that could have been skipped on this album. But Ryan, what was it? No, we'll see in a second that they got a little party record here. So was it that they wanted to keep a party record on the album?
Yeah, it was that too. That's definitely. And what label did this come out under? Interscope, right?
Yeah, G Unit Interscope, just like all the albums.
Yeah, there you go. Interscope love that's their style. You got to have the party record. You got to have the girl record. You know what I mean? They got a formula with all their artists that they release.
So the next record, I think this is what Ryan could have been alluding to a second ago. The next record is We Both Think Alike, which brings us back to the Olivia G Unit project. And Ryan, the only problem I have is with We Both Think Alike, it's a little bit too much 50 Cent, not enough Olivia. There's not enough.
I would say that too. And it's not really my type of record. You know what I mean? It's kind of slow for me. But you know, you need that sex appeal to sell an album, so I get it. I'm not saying it's a bad record, but just not for me. I skip it.
Yep. So that's the one that you would skip right there. We Both Think Alike. That track really, it could have been something. We both think alike. Da, 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 da. We both think alike. Da, 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 da. But they just didn't go. I didn't like the way 50 was changing his voice.
Same.
You know,
yeah.
I didn't like the way that we had to wait so long to really like get into Olivia's portion of it. You know what I mean? But you're going to hear this from me a little bit later. We're going to get into talking about Olivia a little bit later when we talk about the track Best Friend, about how the fact that 50 actually didn't release the remix on this album. He actually released the solo cut of himself doing Best Friend. But we'll get there. So Ryan and I both agree. Out of the first 7 tracks, We Both Think Alike is really the record that really we weren't feeling. Moving into track 8, we get to a Young Buck solo record, Don't Need No Help, produced by High Tech and J.R. Rodham. J.R. Rodham obviously was a dope producer, like dope name. Young Buck is just talking crazy on this record, though, Ryan.
Yeah, Buck is doing what he do best. He's gone Buck. Fuck the police. Fuck the law. We don't need no motherfucking help. Like,
man, he's like, don't make me do it again. Don't make me end up on CNN again. Like, what? It's like, damn, man. You know, Ryan, one thing I want to talk about with these G Unit rappers, we're going to get into it a little bit with the next track, but why does it seem like they're really rapping like all this gangster stuff about shooting people, tying people up, duct taping people? You know what I mean? It's really incriminating, man. Like, it's like, and how are they doing that anymore? Like, you really did that? Like, come on. Like, you're not painting a good picture of yourself saying that you want to duct tape somebody.
No, for real.
But,
only if they really doing it, though, man. Like, it's just like French Montana said, don't call yourself a coke boy if you're really dealing coke. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a fine line between entertainment and, you know, fantasy and reality.
In 2020, they call it incriminating, but I'll tell you what, in 2005, we called it cool.
Big facts.
You know what I mean? The shit has changed so much. It's like, I want to listen to some new Young Buck albums and see if and hear if he's still rapping about duct taping people. You know what I mean?
Nah, for real.
Like,
For real.
really, man? Like, that just sounds crazy that you was saying you was duct taping people on record and shit like that, man. Like, you really got to try that hard. He's really got to try that hard to make himself look cool. Okay.
Buck is Buck.
Well, let's
To
move
quote
on.
Yayo.
Oh, we're not moving on to the next Yayo track yet. Yayo has a record on here, one record from Tony Yayo on here. But we're gonna move into the next track. It was called "Get Low" by Lloyd Banks. What did you personally think about the record "Get Low" by Banks, man?
It was like a hit or miss club record, I would say. I mean, it worked well in the movie during the club scene when 50 was having the house party, and he had to check the dude that was doing drugs or whatever. You know what I mean? Kicked him out. Like, yo, you know where you at? Oh yeah, my fault.
So, Ryan, they say that this potentially "Get Low" was supposed to be the lead single off of Banks's second album, The Big Withdrawal. How do you look at "Get Low" compared to an "On Fire"? Was it a good follow-up to the next album?
No, On Fire was incredible. On Fire was incredible. That was a heavy record. You know what I mean? That was Get Rich or Die Trying level of, you know what I mean, impact. At least it was for me anyway. Get Low was just another, it was good for the movie. It was good for what it did, but no, I wouldn't have released that as a single.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
And "Get Low" wasn't even as big of enough of a club record to keep Interscope's appetite. They had to put on "Have a Party."
Completely understand why. Yeah.
Okay. Because it didn't fill their appetite, man. They didn't get what they needed from that club record. Like you said, it had a good spot in the movie. That's why it's on the soundtrack, obviously.
Right.
So then we move on to the next record. The only record here from Tony Yayo, track 10. It's called "Fake Love." Fake Love. There was a lot of buzz surrounding this record when it first came out.
Yeah, because this is the first time we're hearing Yayo. You know what I mean? Like, everybody was thirsty for that Tony Yayo when he was out of jail.
Well, this
So
is
for him to have like his own solo joint
well
instead of just like a feature on another album. Yeah.
to correct you.
Yeah, I thought the record was
This Ryan, this is the first time we were hearing Tony Yayo since his album flopped.
right.
Thoughts
Oh, okay.
Thoughts
Sheesh.
of Predicate Felon dropped in August, and we got this album in November.
Got you. It's just a follow up. Okay. I mean, even at this point in the album, I think it was dope the way, like the first couple albums was like like 50 on the hooks, and now we got solo records from each member of G Unit. I think that was pretty dope.
Yep.
The way the album was structured.
Triborough says Yayo was buns. 50 threw him a bone.
Fake love when they don't give you depth. Want your ass clap.
Louis said "Fake Love" was a good song. All right. So let's dissect that. So Ryan, was "Fake Love" good enough of a song to get Yayo a second album?
That song, no. But it was a good Yayo song. You know what I mean? It was just, you know what I mean? It was just a good Yayo song. Wasn't nothing spectacular about it. Wasn't nothing trash about it. It was decent.
I'll disagree. I think this was not the Tony Yayo that I wanted to hear. "Fake Love" was not the Tony Yayo that I wanted to hear. I liked a bit more quick paced Tony Yayo from the G Unit type era days when they would rap all three of them together. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like Fat Chick or something like that. What was it called? Bad Man. Another one was called Bad Man or something like that.
I remember Yayo more from the mixtape days.
Like, I didn't like the slowed down Yayo. You know what I mean?
Nah, me neither.
I did not like the slowed down Yayo, so this really wasn't really doing it for me. And this was a chance for Yayo. This was an opportunity for Yayo to set himself back up for another album. Like you're saying, all the G Unit rappers were getting solo cuts at this point. Buck had "We Don't Need No Help." Lloyd Banks had his "Get Low" record, and now Yayo has "Fake Love." What does that tell you about the difference in all three of those artists on G Unit at that point between "Don't Need No Help," "Get Low," and "Fake Love"?
That they can all hold their own. Didn't necessarily need 50 Cent.
Okay. Mick J said Thoughts of a Predicate Felon was a classic. I think it was a classic 5 out of 10.
I gotta go back and listen to it. I mean, I liked all the singles, but there was a lot. I gotta go back and listen to that one before I can even speak on it.
If we get 10 thumbs up in the chat, if we get 10 thumbs up in the chat, we will come back and do a review of Thoughts of a Predicate Felon.
But
Tribe Burrow says Yayo sounded better on mixtape like God's Plan and No Mercy. 100% fact.
yeah. But like you said, that's when he had the fast pace. You know what I mean? When he was like really rapping.
I totally disagree with you, Berg. Tony Yayo's best music was his Gunpowder Guru mixtape series. I totally disagree with that. That is Yayo's worst work. That's when Tony Yayo, that's kind of what Tony Yayo followed up this Fake Love with. That type of slowed down rap, which I don't like. I compare it to when Chief Keef started drinking a lot of lean and just started to suck. Tribal says, Thoughts of a Predicate Felon was classic trash.
They tried with that album. They tried.
Why was he we could get into it if we ever do a review of it, but why did he break out into like Boys to Men type, you know what I mean, renditions? Mr. Telephone Man.
Oh man.
Why did he do that? Explain that to me, Ryan.
Say it again.
Why did he do that? Please explain it to me.
A lot of that is Interscope, man. You got to do it for the ladies, man. You got to do it for the ladies. So you got to give them that. You got to give them that female record. Because I mean, like when you're putting together your album and you present it to the label they're gonna be like, all right, yeah, we like the B sides, but where are those A side records? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So in order for them to put that money behind them, you know what I mean, you got to do what they want to do. You got to compromise with them.
But Ryan, more so what I'm asking you, will you sometimes maybe you'll be in the kitchen. You'll be in the kitchen, right? Say you're rapping in the kitchen. You're like, I do this. And then you just break out and you're like, Mr. Telephone Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll do that sometimes. Like, say you're cooking eggs. You're like griddling. You know what I mean? You're like, you're like rapping. You're like, I get it from the block, man. I'm on the top. But Mr. Telephone Man.
Nah, I only sing in the shower, man.
Not when you're like cooking or yo, Trinidad, what's popping? Appreciate you for tuning in from Trinidad. Curious with Joe? Nah. Okay, we're not there yet. We're not talking about Tony Yayo's album. If we can get 10 thumbs up in the chat, Ryan B, R.B.H, and myself will come back and review Thoughts of a Predicate Felon. I want 10 thumbs up in the chat. But now we're going to get on to the next record. We had enough fun there, Ryan. We're talking about solo cuts. So the next solo cut is actually Window Shopper from 50 Cent. Window Shopper, the second single, I want to say. It's definitely what followed Hustler's Ambition. What did you think about Window Shopper personally, man?
I thought it was dope. I thought it was funny how that song was actually a mixtape song, getting that Fat Joe, Jadakiss, and who else was he talking? And Shine, I think, that he was dissing on that.
Yeah,
and
but
Nas.
On the version I listened to, they actually cut all those disses out.
Yeah, on the album, it's gone. But like the mixtape version of it, he was like, Nas, your window shopper, Fat Joe, you know what I'm saying? Like he was still coming at him.
Like, Shine, he's a window shopper.
Yeah. So then they were like, oh, wait, this song's really hot. We could really use this.
Window shopper. Yo, this song is really hot. We could use it. Yeah, that definitely was. I would have to say that was the biggest single from the album. Let's see what they have here written about the record Window Shopper, Ryan. They say Window Shopper was released as the album's second single on November 6th, 2008, and serves as the film's theme song. Ryan, so do you remember where this song was placed in the movie?
I think, it's when 50 copped the whip.
Yep. And so it's crazy because they released, for everyone just tuning in, we were speaking on Hustler's Ambition earlier. They released Hustler's Ambition August 9th. They released this record, Ryan, 2 days before the album comes out. 2 or 3 days before the album comes out, man. What's the What do you think about that marketing tool right there, releasing the Window Shopper second single literally 2 days before the release of the album? Good strategically or kind of late?
Um, I think it was good. I think it was good. I think it was a good push because they probably did Hustler's Ambition for the movie, and then with the second single was to actually push the music. You know what I'm saying? Giving it two good runs, giving you two reasons to pick up the album if you didn't pick it up off of Hustler's Ambition, giving you two different vibes to get with. I can see that. I think that was pretty smart.
There was also a remix to this track. You know, in my mind, I'm wondering why didn't they feature the remix? Probably more than likely because they wanted to focus on single sales from Window Shopper. They probably imagined that 50 could sell 5 million copies of Window Shopper on its own.
Who was on the remix?
Mase. Mase was actually featured on the Window Shopper remix.
Really? I gotta check that out.
Yes, that was one of the dopest return verses from Mase. You know what I mean? Mase was really killing it. They actually did a video for it as well. I mean, actually, no, Mase, I don't think Mase rapped in his part of the video, but Mase was
Nah, he was just in the video with him.
They were getting shoes and different type of shit like that in the video.
Like $1,000 cheeseburgers, $1,000 milkshakes.
Okay, yeah. So 50 goes on to say that Mase isn't worth 2 million with 2 million in his pocket, but he makes a video pretty much, you know what I mean, stereotyping Mase's whole lifestyle of going
Splurging.
Yeah, splurging. Right, exactly. I don't know about that, man. We might have to talk about Animal Ambition. I mean, Animal Ambition is better than Curtis.
I love Animal Ambition. I mean, I think that's 50. That's like the real 50. You know what I mean? Without the glitz, without the glam, just bars, hooks, him talking that gangster shit, gangster stuff.
Honestly, the only issue I had with Animal Ambition before we get back into the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack was that 50 actually released every song and video week by week and pretty much gave it all away. It was kind of like, what was the point of getting the album after that?
Yeah. Well, you know, he's always trying to stay ahead of the curve. So, you know, like it's like the way he puts things out, man. He tries to be different. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss.
Real quick, Ryan, DeAndre said that Animal Ambition had a massacre vibe. Do you agree with that whatsoever?
No, I think it was the complete opposite. I think Massacre had that commercial vibe to it. Animal Ambition didn't. You know what I mean? Like this is 50 without the Dr. Dre's, without the M&Ms, you know what I mean? Just straight 50.
Yep. But yeah, we'll have to talk about this. But let's get back into the review. So they said about Window Shopper. Window Shopper was released as the album's second single on November 6, 2005, and serves as the film's theme song. The single peaked at number 20. So Hustler Ambition peaked at number 65. This single peaked at number 20 on the Hot 100. The singles version has a slightly different chorus in which Jackson claims that Ja Rule, Jadakiss, Nas, and Fat Joe are window shoppers as he was feuding with these rappers at the time. All right, everyone in here, share this video. Let's get the people up in here. Share this video. Let everyone know. Ryan, why in the blue hell was 50 Cent calling Ja Rule, Fat Joe, Jadakiss, and Nas window shoppers? These guys could go to any window and buy anything they wanted.
Man, 50 will do anything to just throw some stones, man. Calling them broke because they wasn't selling like he was selling. You know what I mean? They wasn't in the same tax bracket at that time as 50 Cent. So 50 was getting at all them, just calling them broke, you know, but we all know that's not true. And their version of broke ain't regular people's version of broke either. You know what I mean?
Let's look at this fact right here. Ja Rule, Jadakiss, Nas, and Fat Joe. Those artists, right? Right now, you can honestly say because of the fact that Mase didn't come back and reinvigorate his career, that all four of those artists are bigger than Mase when it comes down to history. But if Mase had come back with 50, I think Mase could have really solidified himself as better than all four of those artists. Do you want to disagree with me, Ryan? Do you think that Mase?
I mean, I can just elaborate on it. Like, you can't. Mace's era was undeniable. You know, his run with Bad Boy, his run with Puff, even the ghostwriting, even like him writing the lyrics. You know what I mean? The songs that he's written. That era was crazy. You know what I mean?
Fat Joe has had so many different eras, Ryan. Fat Joe.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, Fat Joe has, I think, in my opinion, Fat Joe is a much bigger artist than Mase. Hate to say it, but that's what I believe. We can go down the line. Nas, obvious. Don't even need to
Yeah.
talk about it. Ja Rule, it's arguable that Ja Rule was more famous than Mase. My opinion.
Yeah.
Ja Rule was more
Yeah.
famous.
I would say that too. Yeah, I would say that too. Like, but the guys that you're naming have also been more consistent. You know what I mean? Like, if Mase would have been consistent throughout the years, then you know what I mean, it'd be a little different of a conversation. But he had an era. That was it.
Right. He would be able to compete with Fat Joe, Jadakiss, and Nas. But let Ja Rule got bamboozled out of the game. Let's talk about it real quick. Yeah, they're saying who cares, but let's talk about it real quick. In Mace's peak versus Ja Rule's peak, I think Ja Rule was more famous than Mase. I think in both their peaks, that same golden era peak you're talking about. Do you say Mase is more popular though?
Uh, yeah. All right. So you're saying Mason is prime and John is prime, like during that same era.
Right.
So like late '90s, early 2000s.
Mace mid 90s to late 90s. Ja Rule early 2000s before he got slaughtered. Ja Rule was the most popular rapper before he got slaughtered.
Yeah, but I'm still gonna have to go with Mace at that point.
All right, I'll
All
give
about the Benjamins. No, not all about the Benjamins. More money, more problems. It's too many songs, man. It's too many songs.
Charles said, who cares? But then he added into the debate. Yes, Nas is the dopest. Mase, if Mase had worked on his career more, he could have been comparable to Nas, though, I'm saying. DeAndre says the Welcome Back album was really good. Ryan, was Welcome Back better than Double Up?
No.
Nope. So that means Welcome Back was actually Mace's weakest album. That would be Mace's albums probably went just like that. 1, Harlem World, 2, Double Up, 3, Welcome Back. It probably just went right like that.
Yeah, Harlem World was amazing. Double Up was okay. Welcome Back. No.
Look at this. Triborough says Ja Rule was Drake to the mainstream back in 2000s. That's why I'm saying I think Ja Rule was a little bit more popular. But we were just talking about Window Shopper. We're just that's
all right. Because when you talk about
day.
that era, Ja, I'm thinking like Holla Holla, Can I Get Her? Not so much the Ashanti records yet. If you want to bring like that into it, and you know what I mean,
we're talking
the
about
J-Lo records,
their primes. We're talking about at both of their primes, like when Mase was doing.
Ja. Nah, okay, yeah, I go with Ja. I would definitely go with Ja with that. Yeah, hell yeah. Ja was the shit before he got slaughtered.
All right, we're getting too sidetracked here talking about Ja Rule and Mase. We haven't even got to Mace's record. Mase is only featured on this album for 12 bars. So here we go. We got onto Born Alone, Die Alone from Lloyd Banks. What did you think about this Banks solo cut? So Banks gets his second solo cut, and Banks is the only other rapper on here to get 2 solo cuts.
Yeah, because Banks was supposed to be that guy, the next guy up, you know what I mean? The successor of G Unit after 50. But I think I like this one better than I liked You Already Know.
Right. I only like You Already Know better because it had 50 and Buck on it. To be honest, that's the only reason I liked it better. Sometimes I feel like Banks needs a little bit of assistance on his tracks. I don't think the solo tracks that Banks does are that interesting. I know I'm going to catch a lot of heat for saying that about Banks, but sometimes Banks's records are a little bit uninteresting to me. That's why I could use somebody like Buck on there from the South to give me a little bit of extra, you know what I mean, energy, and 50 on there just to add in a little bit of his voice. You know what I mean?
Kill them hooks. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, Born Alone, Die Alone. It sounded like Banks was taking a couple shots on there. I really wanted to go back and listen to it a little bit. You know, Banks was saying like that he's not going to respond to people taking shots on him. Let me bring it up here. I'm going to bring up the lyrics so I could see if I could pinpoint them. Wow. On this record, he said, I'm on TRL next to Avril Lavigne. That's dope, man. That's dope.
Yeah.
Iceberg said Banks had a hard time making singles. He only had Beamer, Benz, or Bentley, and I'm So Fly. What? what? No, he had Karma. He had you know what I mean? He had Karma. He had On Fire. He had Hands Up. He had I Don't Deserve You. He had Help. He had, this guy, he had a lot of records, man. He also had Smile, which was on the Beg for Mercy album, a solo cut. But you're right, Ryan, when you say Ryan was saying that Lloyd Banks was the guy who was next up. My only issue with the whole thing was that Banks's album didn't come quicker after that. Banks had to wait till October of 2006. I was just saying, Ryan, that my issue with it, you said Banks was that guy. He's got 2 records on this soundtrack, but he had to wait until October of 2006, the next year. He had to wait a whole 11 more months to release another album, Ryan.
Sheesh, man. Yeah. Interscope lost interest, man. Like, they were about to leave him all alone. It wasn't until Beamer, Benz, or Bentley, and that was an accident. You know what I mean? That was just Funk Flex got his hands on it and was like, oh, and kept running it back. And then Interscope got interested, and everybody was coming to Banks again.
But yeah, Banks, he said 50 made me a star. Now they know who we are. Out on top of the charts. Your condo is my car. Income is my chain. StatSpot is my watch. I'm fairly new in the game. I ain't passing the rock. I'm fairly new in the game. I ain't passing the rock. That's why I said it for so many years. I was like, damn, why did Banks just let Meek Mill come up and take his spot?
For real.
But let's move on to
Lazy Lloyd.
Let's move on to the next track, man. It's one of the first records I actually heard from Mobb Deep featuring 50 Cent. It was called You a Shooter. And yo, I wanted to say this for everyone watching. First, RIP to Prodigy. I wanted to say this though, man. Prodigy, when he signed to G Unit, he just thought he was the next big. Prodigy thought he was going to be as popular as Young Thug. He did. He was like, I'm a megastar. He's like, I'm a megastar. He's all like, they're going to look at my tattoos. He thought people were going to be like taking pictures of his tattoos, analyzing his shit.
He got the G Unit tattoo.
No, he changed his name to Hollywood P. What was Havoc's name? What did he call himself?
Oh man, no, Hollywood have and no, was it VSOP? VSOP?
Yo, he really thought he was the shit then, man, and I really loved it. It's just that the numbers didn't really reflect.
Yeah, his bars got a little lazy too. I ain't gonna front.
Yeah, let me bring up Prodigy's lyrics here.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, man. After a while, he just kind of stopped rhyming. It was still dope though, you know what I mean? But it wasn't that Shook Ones Prodigy, you know, it wasn't that Quiet Storm Prodigy. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like, I'm rich, I'll just say whatever. For real.
Yeah, Prodigy goes, I'm at the top and I'm never coming back again. Except for when I come to scoop little shorty, good brains, out the hood. You see me in your hood, don't play. I open up your head and expose your brain. Yeah, Prodigy was still coming with that shit though, man.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, Prodigy was really coming with his shit, but 50 came heavy with the hook on this one. 50 was heavy on the hook on this one. I was really impressed. I probably remember this record back when a website was around like sixshot.com or something like that. And or Hip Hop Havoc. And I remember they had all the new joints. So this record was actually sitting around for a while before it ended up on this album,
Yeah, I believe that. How did the hook go? Can you pull it up?
The hook went, if you a shooter, then shoot. I'm doing my thing. If you see me, my Nina, you seen it go bang. That shit they do in the hood, they do it in mine, man. I put a hole. I ain't playing.
That was my shit. Yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, 50 was going off on that one, man. I almost wish that he put a verse on there, but his hook was so strong. Yeah, it was VIP. Nick Miller, it was VIP and
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood. They really
Mm-hmm.
they thought it was over. And you know what? Judging by this album, Ryan, coming out and selling 320,000 units, you know what I mean? Judging by
Mm-hmm.
that fact alone, they probably still thought they were the shit. But when the Blood Money album came out, Ryan, anybody in the chat? Trivia. Trivia. How much did Mobb Deep Blood Money sell first week? Does anyone in the chat know, or does Ryan B. Heezy know? R.B.H, I'm putting you on the spot.
Nah, I don't know. I don't know. I remember the first single though. Wasn't huh?
Put them in their place.
Yeah, put them in their place. Yeah, not my favorite. Not my favorite. Good song, but you know, good for the album. Not my favorite though. Not my favorite. Especially after following up from well, you know, what was on the Get Rich or Die Trying.
Blood Money actually sold. Blood Money actually sold 110,000 units first week. It was released May of 2006, Ryan. So Mobb Deep got the following album release from this. It went Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack to Mobb Deep. So that was about what? What's that? 6 months, 5 months. Do you think it could have been?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it should have been Lloyd Banks's album? They made Banks wait 11 months.
Banks couldn't get no buzz, man. You know what I mean? And this is fresh off of that what was the name of the record with Nate Dogg that they had?
What record with Nate Dogg are you talking about? Have a part
Well,
deep.
right. And they had a video for that, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So it was like sharing the marketing almost. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna put the spotlight on Mobb Deep because their album's about to come out right after this. So then boom. And if we're comparing the songs that Lloyd Banks put on the album versus what Mobb Deep did, Mobb Deep's was way, way better. I would have put the money behind Mobb Deep too. Now I think I seen somebody ask like what our opinions on Blood Money. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Mobb Deep albums, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like I love all Mobb Deep's albums too. But the one before that, when
America's
the one
Night.
that yeah, America's Nightmare, Little John produced a lot of that up there, and that almost seemed like the end of an era for them with that album. You know what I'm
Twisted,
saying?
Twisted was better than Put Them in Their Place. You
But
know,
Twisted was way better, way better. I like Mobb Deep working with Little John.
but all right. So Ryan, let's move on to the next joint. So we got onto
Mm.
that. You a Shooter was actually produced by Sha Money XL. Jake One, if you've heard of Jake One, a name that sounds very familiar. Jake One is an American record producer. He has worked with he had early influences of DJ Premier and Dr. Dre. He produced the song. Wow, Jake One produced the 2005 song "The Time Is Now" by John Cena, and he was
Wow.
actually a part of the G Unit production team called the Money Management Group. Uh, his first album credited to Jake One. Hold on. Wow, he's worked with M.O.P, Freeway, Keek the Sneak, bunch of different people, but he also produced that record. The Time Is Now. That's the one that your time is up, my time is now. I think it's his entrance music to when he comes to the ring.
Wow.
Yep.
Nice.
So that's who Jake One is. And if you guys didn't know, I'm talking about that because in the chat they just said the top track on this album is actually I Don't Know Officer. Would you agree with that, Ryan, or do you want to save it for the end? We'll save it for the end. But next we're going to talk about I Don't Know Officer, which actually featured 50 Cent, Prodigy, Spider Loke, Lloyd Banks, and Mase. So noticeably, a few of the G Unit guys are missing from this. So they got Spider Loke on there. Obviously, earlier you said Spider Loke did his thing on Things Change. Banks, Golden Boy. This is the record that they have Mase on. You know what I mean? Why they got Prodigy on there? Why don't we get Havoc? Why don't we get Tony Yayo on I Don't Know Officer?
I guess this is like G Unit 2.0. You know what I'm saying? Give him more of the artists that play the back, more of like the front. But you know, you can't deny Banks, so you got to put Banks on there because Banks got the bars. He's next up. Spider Low, you know what I mean? Another addition, newer addition to G Unit, and then you got Mase. Just sum it all up. And Mase was taking hella shots on that. Why don't Lute and Fabby just admit that I'm their daddy? Shh. Woo! With that slow flow, I get it.
What'd you think about that shot, Ryan? What'd you think about that shot that Mase took at Loon? I mean, honestly, that's evident. You know what I mean? Kind of Loon and Mase. But why take a shot at Fab? That's something I didn't see coming.
Because when Mase took a back seat, Fab kind of came up off the same flow. You know what I mean? And Loon. They both kind of got that slow flow, talking to the ladies. You know what I'm saying?
That tell me what you
So
want.
Mase.
That tell me what you want flow. I said, Ryan.
Just say it again. Sorry, you went out.
I said that tell me what you
The
want.
tell me what you want flow.
Yep.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. Real shit. Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't really think about it like that till you just said it, you know, because Fab obviously had a lot of them slow chick records. But overall, who would you say had the best verse on I Don't Know, Officer, overall?
50. Wait, no,
Okay.
did 50 have a verse? Yeah, 50 had the verse, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 50. They all killed it though. They all followed it.
Grams. No, I don't know nothing about that crystal meth. Hell, 50, man. I would hope you don't know something about crystal meth. You're damn.
Nah, I don't know.
I don't know. He's like, now
I
you
don't know
did.
who shot you. I don't know who stabbed you. I don't know who cut you. But you think
Nowadays,
I know because you know how my squad do. Yeah, that was.
nowadays you got to talk to people in the street like they the police.
They ate the police. Nah.
I don't know. I don't know. They're like, yo, did you hear that dude shot that dude? He's gangster. He's like, nah, I don't know. But yeah,
I don't know nothing about that.
yeah, I don't know. Officer was dope. It was great to hear Mase on there. Like I said earlier, they had got Mase. They didn't get Mase cleared for an album, but apparently they got him cleared for this joint for a single. Do you think this really did the job? Did that do the job in enticing people for Mase and G Unit, or were they just like, oh, that's all they got? We're done.
Nah, definitely. And it also was you also seen the influence that 50 had with Mase. You know what I mean? Because Mase wasn't really known for taking shots. You know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden he's hanging with 50, somebody who's known for taking shots at people. You know what I mean? And 50, I remember when that came up, 50 was like, I didn't tell him to write that. But it's not even about that. It's just like it's that energy. You know what I mean? They have beef with everybody. So it's like, well, yo, if you know what I mean, I'm gonna talk mine. You're gonna talk yours, I'm rolling with you, I'm gonna talk mine. You know what I mean? It brought out a whole different side of them.
So the next record we come into, but before we get into the last four tracks, hold up, we got some other tracks here. Had you ever heard Cloud 9 with 50 Cent and Olivia, Ryan?
No.
Okay, yeah, they're saying that this is another track on the album, but I've never heard it before either, or I might have heard it. Has anybody in the chat heard Cloud 9 with 50 Cent and Olivia? So this is what they had to say about Have a Party, Ryan. Have a Party was released as the album's fourth single on March 2nd, 2006. So the album had come out in November, and then they released Have a Party as the fourth single in March 2nd, 2006. The song features Mobb Deep and Nate Dogg. The single peaked at number 105 on the Hot 100 and was the worst performing single from the album. It's also the least heard song from the album, only appearing in a very short segment when Marcus was in prison. So that's where it was. Marcus was in prison. They released the album November, but then they were still releasing singles as late as March 2006. Now, Ryan, Mobb Deep had put them in their place released, I want to say before this in like February or something like that. So now this is somewhat acting as another single for Mobb Deep in March, preparing for their album in May.
Mm-hmm.
It was
So that's
just
two.
he was just trying to market for Mobb Deep a little bit better. I just don't. But why was it the least heard? Why? I mean, oh no, it was the least heard in the movie. Why did it peak the highest? Like it peaked at number 105. Like this is worse than Hustler's Ambition. This is worse than, you know what I mean? This is worse than Window Shopper.
And didn't Dr. Dre produce this?
Let me check it. I don't. Let me check this. Have a
This
party.
is it's the infamous Mob M.O.P. Oh, have a
Mm,
party.
yeah, have a party. Yes, have a party. We're
This
talking
is
about
how we do it. When we do it, everybody gotta throw their hands up. That one, right?
yeah. Was it
Yeah, I
because it
don't
was
know,
kind of
bro.
cheesy?
Say what?
Was it because it was kind of cheesy?
I don't know. I like that record. I don't know why that didn't work. For real, like yo, I really like that record.
Yep. So the next track we're going to get into is Talk About Me. This was actually produced by Dr. Dre. I think it was a poor use of Dr. Dre's production. 50 really was just talking over the record. And then at one point he was yelling over the record, but it was rhyming. And I really didn't like it. This has to be potentially the worst track on the album. 50 Cent Talk About Me. I did not feel this one whatsoever.
And like everywhere I go, I mean, like everywhere. It sounded like a Get Rich or Die Trying original album cut that didn't make it. But you know, you're gonna want to utilize a Dr. Dre beat, and that's a selling point if you're trying to sell something. Just to say featuring Dr. or produced by Dr. Dre. You know what I mean? So I can see why it's up there. But I have to agree, not the strongest, not the strongest. Definitely sound like a throwaway.
Yeah, he started getting on there rapping like, boy, they say that 50 back at it. You know what he did? He pulled his hat out of rabbit. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't feeling it. It's like 50. Give me raps. Give me raps. Don't do that bullshit where you talk over the record and then it rhymes. Like that's one of the reasons I wasn't feeling Straight Out of Southside, like the way that they all switched their voices and shit. Like I don't like
Nah,
that.
I hated that song. I ain't like that either. He
Boom.
was trying to imitate other people talking about him, I guess. I don't know. Hit or miss for me.
Maybe the
Skip.
first verse of Talk About Me was good.
Yeah, but better than the rest. It kind of lost me. It's not a song I listen to all the way through.
See, I don't like how they come in. They're like, I know Boo Boo. I know Boo Boo. I mean, 50. He grimy. I think he shot my brother. I'm going to find him. We don't see his punk ass unless he on TV. Yeah, he did my brother dirty, but he don't want to see me. Remember Rydell from KP thought he was his man, put him on the table to beat him up for his grams. Like I wasn't feeling 50's delivery like that whatsoever. And then later on to the track, he just like yeah, I know Curtis. He used to F with my friend. Used to come through my
Yeah,
projects, pick her up in the Benz from Bullet. You know what I mean? I wasn't feeling how he came on the track like that whatsoever. And
same.
they put it at the end of the album, Ryan. Is that an indication of anything? The fact that it's so late in the album?
Yeah, it's like, you know, filler space. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it. Yeah, he did the same thing on I'm Not Rich, I'm Still Lying when he imitated Game. But that time it was actually really funny. I'd like that. That was one of his best diss records towards Game.
I personally think that was the worst diss record of all time.
You
All
didn't
right.
think that was funny?
That that was worse than Benzino's diss records.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I think it was effective because it was funny. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
But
Ryan,
like top MC, like lyrical diss, no. But every time I listen to that record, I'd be dying.
does Benzino have any good diss songs? Like, are his disses any good?
No.
Ah!
Anybody on your label, anybody on your label who could F with Ray, Obi Trice, you a buster. I don't think you want to play.
Yo, look at that. Iceberg agrees. Yo, all
Yeah,
right.
y'all wildin'. Y'all wildin'. It was
Let's
funny, man. It was funny. But
let's
what about Snoop? Snoop shit ain't all that.
let's get into the next record. It's called When It Rains, It Pours. Produced by Dr. Dre as well, Ryan. Talk to me about this track. Is this a record that was actually written for the movie? Or because I'm pretty sure I heard him refer to himself as Curtis in the record, but wouldn't he refer to himself as Marcus if he was doing it for the movie? What's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, he never really made music from that perspective of being Marcus. It was always like 50 relating to Marcus. So this was definitely a 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, definitely both of them in their pocket. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that I mean, when we listen to Animal Ambition, when we listen to Hustler's Ambition, you know what I'm saying? That's 50. So I'm thinking this is like the same. This is 50 relating to Marcus. You know what I mean? Not so much 50 being the character and rapping from the character as Marcus. Like when Eminem did Lose Yourself. Yeah, when Eminem did Lose Yourself, he was Eminem relating. But when he did 8 Mile Road, he was actually B Rabbit. He was actually
Right.
that he was actually rapping from that perspective.
Right. Yep. Okay. So you're comparing when it rains, it pours to actually like lose yourself. Interesting
Right.
comparison. Interesting
Right. Well,
comparison, man. No, I think it's an interesting comparison right there, man. So let me ask you though. So you're saying, unlike Talk About Me, which potentially could have been a get rich or die trying throwaway, was It Rains It Pours definitely just for the Get Rich or Die Trying movie, or could it potentially been recorded at another time?
it could have been recorded at another time, but I wouldn't call it a throwaway either, though, because that's powerful.
Yeah,
You know what I
no
mean? Like
way.
that's a powerful record.
There's no way.
Yeah, no, that's a standout record. I think Dr. Dre just wanted to help 50 with the album. You know what I mean? So I think one of them was probably an old record, but
Okay.
this one they probably wrote straight up and because it's placed perfectly in the movie. He wrote this is the record that they were that he was working on in jail when Terrence Howard approached him and said he wanted to manage him. And the CEOs were rapping it, the other inmates were rapping it, singing along. So I'm like, yeah, that was no mistake.
So let's get into the next
Yeah.
record. They're actually saying that this was actually a bonus track. Best Friend. Best Friend was released as the album's third single. So this was released on January 19th. Just to put that in perspective for everyone, Window Shopper was released November 6th. So this was released January 19th. So that's about 2 months and a week later. So that's about 9 weeks later. The singles version features Olivia. The single peaked at number 35. So it did better than Hustler's Ambition, but not better than Window Shopper. The song is used throughout the film as a way for Marcus, Jackson's character, to lyrically flirt with Charlene, his love interest. And that's one of the things I was thinking about this, Ryan. When, this movie actually featured Best Friend throughout it. You know what I mean? It was featured the song Best Friend throughout the whole movie, which is why I was asking you about, when it rains, it pours, because it seems like in this one, Best Friend was a song made by Marcus, then recorded as 50 Cent.
Right. Yeah, definitely. This is him rapping as the character Marcus.
Right.
And I get it. You need these kind of records to sell albums, and it was a single. It wasn't even just like a joint cut. And again, this is him putting out Olivia, giving her a chance to shine. Because I remember Interscope was saying that they didn't really want, you know what I mean? Like they wanted him to do more of his songs. You know what I mean? Which is why he did two from him, or three really, when he was on the Mobb Deep one. But like they really, you know what I mean? Like they wanted him to focus more on him, but he's like, no, like yo, let's do it my way. Like I'm gonna put my people on. So this is his way of putting out Olivia, his way of putting out Mobb Deep. You know what I mean? On on a soundtrack's budget versus their record label budget or their recording contract budget.
Now, I think honestly that they should have featured Olivia from the get-go on this. I think this should have been Olivia's main her second single following Candy Shop with 50. I think this should have been her major introduction. You know what I'm saying? Because they had Candy Shop in March, right? And now they have this.
Mm-hmm.
But they go ahead, and the version I listened to today didn't have Olivia on it. I had to go and find the remix to get Olivia and to get that track. You know, the one where Olivia comes like, you told me that you could always talk to me. You know what I mean? You told me that you would be there to
Mm-hmm.
talk to me. And then, oh my God, some of the corniest lyrics, like 50's like, why I look so good because you bought me that. Like, what? Like, he was like, why do I look so fresh because you bought me that? It's like, what? You think all these guys out here are letting their girlfriends dress them, Ryan? Is Young
Ain't
Thug?
that what Future said? Never let a chick trust me. We don't
Are
do
these
that.
guys really letting them girls dress them? I bet you 50 was. I bet you a guy like 50 lets his girl. Man, weird to hear that. But that was my big thing about this. Like they didn't promote it right. They could have really did something with Olivia. Why didn't they release this as the first single like they did with Candy Shop for the Massacre? Ryan. Ryan is lagging. Ryan is lagging right now. Sorry about that, you guys. Hold on. What did somebody just say about Sierra? Did someone just say Sierra should have been on that? Yeah, up next. Up next is I'll Whoop Your Head Boy, but right now I'm talking about Best Friend, which honestly, I think they should have featured Olivia from the get-go. I think they should have featured Olivia from the get-go with Best Friend. And I thought it would have been made for a bigger career for Olivia because she didn't really get to do anything.
Right. Right. I don't know. It wasn't really my forte of a song. Yeah, the version that you're talking about, that's when he was like, I need you to listen to my tape. Listen to my tape, man. Listen to my tape. And like it's a little more, it's got a little more flair to it. You know what I'm saying? She has her own verses and all that.
Ryan, DeAndre says Sierra should have been on the song instead of Olivia. What do you think? Yo, turn your phone off, man. Ryan's shit is lagging. Magic Stick with Little Kim was a better record to reach the female fan base. That was a dope collab. Well, that record actually came out during the time of Get Rich or Die Trying, though. Olivia was ass cheeks. That's hilarious. Olivia was not marketable. I think if they had released the remix, I think if they actually released the remix of, if they would have released the remix of Best Friend, Olivia would have been more marketable. They're saying that Olivia's not marketable, Ryan.
It's not that she's not marketable, man. She just wasn't marketed the right way. You know what I mean? And a group like G Unit ain't really the proper place for an R&B artist. You know what I mean?
I honestly think it could have worked if they would have just. I was trying to ask you, Ryan, since they released Candy Shop so quickly for the massacre, why not just start the album off with Best Friend?
Right. Right. They should have shared that single. I don't know, man. I don't know. They dropped the ball with her all the way around. Yeah, she was on Love and Hip Hop and she got another shot. But again, even man, I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, man. Just like we were saying the other day. Like when Jay-Z was at Def Jam and signed Rihanna and Christina Milian. Rihanna worked, Christina Milian did.
So let's talk about the last record. I'll Whip Your Head Boy, which is actually used in the opening sequence. I'll Whip Your Head Boy, 50 Cent, featuring Buck. Buck is actually on the last verse. Maybe this is where some of the duct taping came in because he was rapping from a perspective of the film because they were going to
Good
rob,
point.
you
Good
know.
point.
But so 50 did the joint and Buck was featured on the hook going, I'll whip your head, boy. You know I will. I'll whip your head, boy. With the back of the steel, I'll whip your head, boy. Your cap can get peeled. I'm like, yo, I got to keep this record going because Buck had his last verse. What did you think of I'll Whip Your Head Boy? A lot of people on here saying that it was their favorite track on the album, Ryan.
Definitely. I still listen to that joint today. Still in rotation. The remix was dope too with M.O.P.
Best song on the track, in my opinion. Wow, really? People really consider this. Did you guys feel like did you guys feel away because you didn't get a video for it? Should there have been a video for it, Ryan?
I think so. If they went as far as to do a remix for it, I would appreciate a video. Did they
Yo,
do a video for it? Like, but
yo,
it wasn't a real video. It was just like clips from the movie.
Twistas, my bad, yo. Let me introduce you to my co-host R.B.H. That's Ryan B. Heasy. He's from New Haven, Connecticut. Yep, appreciate you for joining us. We're doing a review tonight of 50 Cent's G Unit Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack for the movie. We're just getting to the end of it. So they're ending strong here, Ryan. They're ending strong here with Best Friend and I'll Whip Your Head Boy. 50 knows he's got a that's why Buck called himself the cleanup man or something. You know,
Yeah.
end this album strong with Buck.
Yeah. Yeah. Good move. Good move. That energy, that aggression definitely matched the record. And it went, man, yeah. That was the first song that you heard when the movie came on.
Wow. And I'll tell you, it was produced by a man that I've interviewed, Ron Browse.
Mm. Mm. Shout out to Ron Browse. He's dope. Dope producer.
Ron Browse. Everybody should know Ron Browse from a couple different records,
Pop
like Pop.
Champagne.
Yep. Yep.
The
So Ryan, let's start, basically going over the album. Ryan, what were the top 3 tracks that you would look out for on the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack album?
Definitely I Whip Your Head Boy. When It Rains It Pours. Um What If, and I don't know. Officer. I don't know.
Twister said, okay. Thanks for the catch up, Mikey T. Yeah, man. Appreciate you for tapping in with me and Ryan B, aka R.B.H. So I'm looking over the track listing, and before we get into tracks that we would totally skip, records that I can't skip on this joint, when I put on the album, sometimes you just skip right over Hustler's Ambition to What If. You know what I mean? You jump on that What If.
But that's only because radio killed Hustler's Ambition.
Right.
It's the only reason why. Sick of those singles.
Bro, they killed it for 2 months, apparently, from when we read it off. They dropped the single on August 9th, and they promoted that shit all the way through November.
Yeah,
all the way through the album and the movie's release. So I go from What If to When Death Becomes You with 50 and M.O.P. Easily, as I said, my favorite M.O.P. record, even over records like Annie Up and, you know what I mean, Cold as Ice. And then I follow that right up with the Mobb Deep record that I think should be the single, Have a Party. That's right. So going from there, the last song the last 2 songs really do it for me though. So I'd have to say What If, When Death Becomes You, Have a Party, and then you got the last 2 tracks on there that really do it for me, When It Rains It Pours, and I will give the proper respect to Best Friend with 50.
Yeah, lost me with Best Friend, but I agree. Same.
Nah, I'll be your best friend. I want you around all the time. Yeah, come on, man. You know you got a girl. You bring your girl. You sing that to her real quick. You good, man.
It just makes you want to snap your fingers and rock. You say he's just a friend. Girl, let's not pretend.
And then you be looking her in the eyes and you're like, you promise you'll be mine. You got to get that understanding with her. You know what I mean? It's like, you're going to be mine.
Personally, I like the version that Marcus was spitting in the movie over the KRS-One beat, The Bridge Is Over. I thought that was kind of hard. You know what I mean? Like just the straight rap version of it. You know what I mean? That was cool. But the actual single, that was all right. That was okay. Necessary. But I skipped it though.
So Ryan, let's talk about it, man. What were the tracks that you absolutely hated? What were the tracks that you could not stand on this album?
The 2 Olivia joints and the one where 50 with the Dre beat, the Wasted Dre beat. Think About Me. Or you know where I'm from and where I'm be. Them 3. I could do it out. Them 3.
We both think alike, you said?
We both think alike. Skip. Best Friend, Skip, and the Dre 50, the first one.
Talk About Me.
Talk About Me, yeah. I skip all 3 of those.
All right,
and Hustler's Ambition, but not because, and I want to be clear about this, not because it's whack or nothing like that. This is an amazing song. I've just heard it too much. I'm not the dude. When I buy an album, I skip over the singles. So I'm biased to that.
Let me see. What am I skipping on this? And in the chat, everybody can tell us what they would skip over. What am I skipping on this? I think, so like I said, those first 5 tracks, you ain't really skipping over nothing. Hustler's Ambition, What If, Things Change. You already know My Mind Is on My Dough. You know, When Death Becomes You, Have a Party. You ain't skipping over none of that. But Ryan and I both believed We Both Think Alike was a missed opportunity for 50 Cent and Olivia. I skip right over Don't Need No Help. Sometimes I'll skip over Get Low by Lloyd Banks just because the beat isn't really there for me all the way. You know, got her back from my mama. She fashion designer. You know what I mean? It's not really all the way there for me. It's not as good as Hands Up. It's not as good as On Fire. You know what I'm saying? So I would say right there, that whole patch of records, We Both Think Alike with 50 and Olivia, Don't Need No Help by Buck. You know what I mean? Sometimes Buck doesn't get me fully on his solo records. Get Low from Banks and Fake Love from Tony Yayo. all records that I really wasn't feeling on this.
Oh, Fake Love, yeah. It's
Yeah,
the other one.
all records I really wasn't feeling on this album. So that means we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and then I'll also throw Born Alone, Die Alone on that list as well. So I got 5 records on this album that I don't. Oh, 6. Talk About Me. So that's 6 out of 18. That means I did not like a third of this album, Ryan.
Mm, mm. Still a pretty good album.
So that means I did not like a third of this album. So let's go ahead and give our official grades on the album. Grade Get Rich Soundtrack. Everyone in here, we want your grades from F to A plus. What are we going to grade it? Before we do the grade, we're going to wait everyone in the chat. Let me go over the Billboard weekly chart accomplishments for this album. U.S. soundtrack albums Billboard, it went number 1. U.S. top R&B and hip hop albums Billboard went number 1. U.S. Billboard 200, it went to number 2. Yep. So that's basically 2 out of 5 mics. B, D, B minus. Before we go over all those, Ryan, let me get your grade on this album, the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack.
I give it a solid A. Solid A.
Wow, Ryan's going to go ahead and give this album a solid A. Why are you giving it a solid A, man? Do you think it was one of the best compilations?
Definitely. Definitely. Great production, great rhymes. It complemented the movie perfectly. The production, again, man, like each song that comes on is a vibe. You know what I mean? Especially the first 5. Then it gets a little choppy towards the end, but then it cleans up real nice with our Whoop Your Head Boy. You know what I mean? I'm personally, there was just some songs up there that just missed. You know what I mean? And for those misses, I can't give it an A plus. But overall, I gotta agree. There's about a third of the album I don't like, but that means the rest of the album I do like. That's more than half. So definitely gonna give it an A.
All right, so listening to this album, we just reviewed the other day the re-up, and honestly, I think this album has to be considered better than the re-up, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
I'd have to say this because, I mean, they went in here, knowing what they had to do. They went in here with a major budget for the soundtrack. You know what I mean? They obviously had an agenda to get across with this. They promoted several of the artists, but that's where I take my grade into consideration with the outcome of this whole thing. Because like with the re-up, they were promoting what was to come. With this soundtrack, they were promoting what was to come as well. Two Lloyd Banks singles, but his album didn't release till 10 months later. They had a Tony Yayo song that didn't add up to anything. Young Buck was featured on 2 records, and then he didn't even have an album until 2007 drop. M.O.P literally dropped their one and only G-Unit record, I think, right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is basically it.
So let's look at the point that we had with Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep came out after this album. They only sold 110,000 first week. Somebody in the chat said that they sold 800,000 overall. So based on that, I'm going to go ahead, and based on the fact that I said I like this album more than the re-up, I'm going to give this album a solid B. I'm going to go ahead and give this album a solid B. Now let's look at the chat. So what do we got in here from the chat? 2 out of 5 mics, Ryan. What is that? What is that, a C?
Yeah, passing, but
Tyson Garcia, B. Sofendi says D for this album.
Wow.
Triborough Gigolo, B minus. 3.5/4 out of 5. What is that, Ryan? A B plus?
About a B plus, yeah.
B minus. A, solid A. You got somebody that agrees with you, Ryan. Solid A. Appreciate you for tuning in. Anaya. Is it timeless? I think the fact that Ryan, you said that about a couple of records that you can still
listen to them.
I'll Whip Your Head Boy, Have a Party. Can you play Have a Party at a party this day and age, Ryan?
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, you could, depending on the audience, yeah.
And you could still play Window Shopper and Hustler's Ambition. So yes, timeless. 50 did give us some timeless music on the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack.
Definitely.
I say D because I feel like it had too many styles. Fendi, you have an accurate point right there. It's a comp. You got to take into consideration that the album is done in compilation format, though.
Right.
Um,
Various artists.
classic movie soundtrack or hip hop album in itself. Um, I'm gonna have to go ahead and say good hip hop album itself more so than the classic movie soundtrack. What's your thoughts on that, Ryan?
I gotta say classic movie soundtrack. Only because if I put it in a hip hop album, like if that's the album and not a compilation, then I gotta regrade the whole thing. Then I would give it a B if that's the case.
Okay, yep. You see what Ryan's saying right there. He's saying, Tyson, basically the fact that he's putting it into the classic movie soundtrack is the reason that it gets an A, which I totally respect, Ryan. We were obviously grading it on different levels. So yeah.
Right. Right.
Janetti agrees with you. Solid A is like classic-ish. No, I don't know about all that, man. Ryan, it's classic for a movie soundtrack?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's got some memorable moments. We still talk about it today. I mean, it was good enough for us to give it this today. So I mean, yeah.
Yo, Iceberg, what's your grade for the album? I'd give it a B, Twista says. Yo, respect to you tuning in, Tyson. So Fendi says 50 Cent learned how to make timeless records from Dre. He learned how to not mention the year and things like that.
It works.
Classic movie soundtrack. I could totally agree, Janetti says. Yep, you were right on the money with that, Ryan. You were right on the money with that. So you guys, this is actually our first soundtrack review. So I'm going to have to up my grade, actually. I'm going to have to up my grade to a B+. And judging by all of the, judging by everyone in the chat, I think we can go ahead and give this album an overall grade of an A-.
Boom.
A-. So we got our first A-. The re-up, which was a compilation as well, got a B from us, solid B. The Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack, 50 Cent, featuring an array of talent, you guys. Talent that we all still know to this day, for one. It's going to get a solid A- from us.
Everybody was shining on that joint. Everybody. And everybody had a moment.
Ryan, could you comment on this real quick from Fendi?
Fendi said, it seems like he learned more about this first soundtrack compared to the Kanan tape. Ooh. Yeah, Kanan tape was incredible. I ain't gonna lie to you. Yeah, that was, but the Kanan tape, that's not really a soundtrack though. That's an album that's almost like what Jay-Z did with American Gangster. You know what I'm saying? Like that's him rapping from a perspective. So the Kanan tape was like 50 rapping from the perspective of Kanan. So it's not exactly the same as talking about a soundtrack, but I get the similarities, definitely. Kanan tape was crazy. And yeah, he definitely learned. The one thing about 50, like he learns from, I mean, he looks at G Unit as a whole as a mistake. So you can see why moving forward, he really just works with himself. So I mean, yeah.
Well, try, bro. We might have to go over the Juice, Boys in the Hood, and Menace to Society soundtracks. Ryan, did I say 2008 on accident?
Maybe.
But I know we were going over that both before because I was looking it up. The Terminate on Sight album actually drops in 2008.
Okay.
I said it at the beginning of the video, if anybody's just joining us now, but the Beg for Mercy album dropped in 2003. This G Unit Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack dropped in 2005. And then they had Terminate on Sight come in 2008, which is why Ryan and I were speaking on the fact that this could have potentially been a G Unit like album.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, above the rim. Ryan, they're saying they want Thoughts of a Predicate Felon next, but actually we're going to give them the Beg for Mercy versus Terminate on Sight album next.
Yeah, I'm with that.
First,
do your homework.
First Unit album versus the second one?
Yep. Got to compare those joints. Make sure everybody out there, that's going to be the next one. So make sure if you get a chance, listen to TOS, listen to Beg for Mercy, come back and join us next time. And then we're going to rate the album so everybody can be on the same page. Tell a friend, tell a friend.
Yep. Up next, TOS versus Beg for Mercy. Ryan, let everybody know where they can follow you on social media.
Yo, what up? It's your boy, Ryan B. Easy Heat. Homie coming straight from the Elm City. That's New Haven, Connecticut, for y'all that don't know. Make sure y'all follow me on all my channels or whatever your favorite channel is. I got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat at Ryan B. Heezy. Hyeeze.
All right, you guys, stay tuned for us next time. We'll be back with another exclusive album review. R.B.H, Ryan B. Heezy, I appreciate you joining me today, man. We'll get back
Always,
at it
bro.
next time. Stay tuned, Janetti. You'll see it in the logs.